So today, it may seem a little unjointed, but what we're going to talk about really are these 5 things right here on how to get an attachment over to a folder. Now, we're going to use this in the context of, we're going to show you how to do email attachments annotated in a gallery. We're going to create a folder. We're going to create a OneDrive attachment, how to do that into OneDrive, and then we're going to create the flow, and we're going to create the Outlook rules. So we're going to kind of touch down on Outlook, PowerApps, and Power Automate, as well as OneDrive. So stay tuned. This will be a little disjointed from a presentation perspective, but if you stick with me, we're going to go through all the instructions on all 5 of these actions. Okay, so what are we doing here? What we want to do is when we receive a email, so let me go ahead and put this up. This is the table of contents for a book that I'm writing, but that I'm not done with, but I'd like to at least share parts of it with you. So here we're just going to take the first one, which is the action folder. I'm going to show you just real quickly how to set up that action folder. So here, this is a rule that we're going to use to set up an action folder. So if you want, you can pause and take a screenshot of this. I kind of explain everything that we're going to be doing here, but we're going to walk through it here on the video as well. So here, a critical thing to remember is we have to have an email address, and we're using a unique identifier called SAM2. You could use any unique identifier, it doesn't really matter. But we're going to walk through how to assign this, then we're going to assign it, add the rule, and notice here, we can name it anything we want, number 1 there, but the subject line must include SAM2 in it, and then we move it to an action, okay? And that's pretty much it as far as that's concerned. So let's go ahead and go over to Outlook real quick. It doesn't take much time to take a look, see what this looks like inside of Outlook. So here within Outlook, let's say here, for example, we wanted to create this rule. It's very simple. We're just going to go down here, hit Create Rule. Now we're going to click on More Options, go to the rules. We're going to hit Discard, although you can't see it on your screen right now. Let me move that over for you. Discard right here. And now we're going to just we add a new rule. And when we hit Add a New Rule, we're going to name the rule. Then we're going to say that the subject includes SAM2, and we're going to move it to the action folder. Now we're going to see here in a minute why we're moving it to the action folder, and I'll give you a preview of why that's occurring. But let's just take this for what it's worth. That really is kind of how to set up that Outlook rule. Quick, easy, but absolutely critical that we have that Outlook rule. So for example here, let's go ahead and check to make sure I already haven't done that one. I haven't. So let's go ahead and just forward this email, for example. And we're going to go ahead and just hit forward. And we're just going to forward it. Now, remember, you have to have an email address. So we're going to forward it there. We're just going to place SAM2 behind it and go. Now, why SAM with a numeric 2? Because it's unique. You don't want to put something in there that could accidentally be in another subject, right? So SAM2 is pretty unique. All right. And so we're just going to hit go. And then you notice here that the action folder itself, see that? It popped up, and there is the actual email in an unread state. Now, why are we? Like I was saying, if you want to move email, so if you have an email message, for example, that you want to move into a task, well, that's pretty easy to do, built right into PowerApps. You're gonna have to see another video on that on this channel, but here you can see we have all the text. We're not using Flow to do this. We do it all native inside of PowerApps. It's actually pretty cool. So you'll want to look up that video. Let me give you the video number on that. And there you go. You can just pause the video and take this number down right here. Capture email to a list or task without Power Automate. And that's a number. So if you just search for this number, Google this number, you'll probably come up right directly to that video. So watch that video. It's 11 minutes long, but it'll tell you exactly how to do why we're moving this using that rule. So the real point of this section of the video was to show you how to use an Outlook rule. We've done that. So now let's go ahead and proceed forward with our next one, which is how do we get email attachments annotated in a gallery? So if you notice here, do you see where it says false? Email attachments included false. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And we're going to go ahead and open back up our document again and do a search within the book to see exactly where that is. And then again, I'll show that to you. So here, we're going to go here. And here, we're going to add email attachments annotated in a gallery. And so you see it right here. So this attachment, and this is the actual code. So what you're going to do is you're going to place in there, and we're going to go ahead and expand this up so you can see it. So here's the actual code. And I'm not going to open up the app because I don't have it open right now, but here's the actual code. So pause the video to see the code itself. Now notice here, this item has attachments. So it's looking at the current item that we're working on within that gallery. So for example, that would be this email message specifically right here, okay? And it's saying, okay, now I'm giving a message here. So has attachment is the command that you want to use. This in quotes here, in red here, this is just what I'm saying. Because by default, when you click Save to OneDrive within your Outlook client, so let's go over to Outlook and show you what that looks like here. So when you do save, what will happen here, let's go to Outlook, Mail, let's find an attachment, here we go right here. When you click on this and say Save to OneDrive, Lush Advisors, okay, when I click on that, what's going to happen, let's go ahead and go into OneDrive and see where that file actually went. So if you go into OneDrive and you click on My Files right here, and you'll see a folder called Attachments. There it is right there. Okay? And there it is right there. I just dumped it a few seconds ago. As you can see, a few seconds ago. So what does that mean? That means that I can capture these things manually, of course, here. But inside of PowerApps, when I'm using it inside this application, and the code that I'm showing you here, that says, if there is an attachment, if it's yes, it's right here, okay, then I want to grab the name of that attachment. If it doesn't, I want to say, and then here's the email, right? Email attachments included. This item has attachment, that means it's false. So if it doesn't have an attachment, it's going to come off and say false. If it is, it's going to come in and say what the name of the attachment is. You can see here with Wetumpka email group. Okay? So if remember this is an if statement. So if this condition meets, great. Otherwise, which is signified by the comma, then I want you to do this. So first statement, it did it. Second statement, it didn't. So pause the video to see this code, but it's very simple, and this is in your gallery itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. That's right here. So that would be right here inside of your gallery. It's telling you whether or not there's an attachment. So that works out pretty nice. Okay, let's cruise on to the next one. The next thing to do this is, and this should be real easy for most of you, is to create an Outlook folder. So to create a folder, for example, action here, I'm going to go to my folder section. I'm going to do a right click. I'm going to say create a folder. Okay? That's not really that challenging. Most people can do that. And then you can, once you create a folder, you can go into that folder itself and you can say add it to my favorites. Okay? So that's a pretty easy way. I'm not even going to go to the instructions because that's pretty easy. So that's where we're going to dump our information here. And then, of course, we need to make sure that the folder inside of OneDrive is created, called Attachments. I believe it's there by default, but if it's not, create one called Attachments, exactly like you see it, so it'll work in either case. And then the last thing that we're going to do is take a look at the flow itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at the flow. I'm going to copy that real quick. And then let's go over to the instruction book and see where that is inside the book. So here we're going to hit Control F and we're going to go ahead and search right down there. There we go. Okay, how to create a flow inside to save your attachments. So this is actually a pretty simple process. Right here, let's go ahead and do it. Now this is if you're in a solution. If you're not, which most of you probably aren't, you just hit create. Okay, so we're going to go to Power Automate, create automated cloud flow. Okay, we're going to just name the flow whatever we want to name it. In this case, I named it attachments to OneDrive. When a new email arrives, is what I searched for, and then it's right there. When a new email arrives, V3, click on that, and then hit create. Okay, now I say I only want when a new email arrives only with attachment. So if it doesn't, I don't even want you to process the flow. So if it has an attachment, great. And then we're going to use this called get attachment. Okay, do not use get attachments, which is plural. Okay, see the illustration. Get attachment right here. Okay. Then we're just going to tell Flow what to do with it. Now, first of all, we have to tell it the ID of the message. So we've done that here. Now remember to pay attention to the header here. We're pulling from this guy here. And I'm going to show you this in just a minute. Here we're going to get the attachment itself. So we have the message ID, and then we're just going to type in attach, and we're going to do attachments, attachment ID. Okay, we're going to select that. And then we're going to add one more operation to create the file inside of OneDrive. Now, could you do this in SharePoint? You could. But we're just doing it in OneDrive, so just type in create file, select that, and then the unique path is the root, and we're going to click on the arrow. We're not going to click on root. We're going to click on the arrow, and the unique folder path when we create is attachments. Notice we're not clicking on the arrow here. We clicked on the arrow here to drill down to where the attachment folder is, but now we select the attachments folder. Okay? And now you see the attachments folder, and then the name, we're going to go in here, and we're just going to go get attachment is the section you're in, name of attachment. We're going to put the file content in, which is the content bytes. This is the content, all of the ones and zeros associated with the file itself. Again, get attachment V2, we're going to click on that bad boy, and then we're going to hit number 3 for save. So let's go ahead. I know I ran through those instructions quickly. Hopefully if you weren't tracking, you can pause the video or go back on the video and watch those pieces. It's really not that tough. But let's close this out by opening up Power Automate. I don't know if I hit it or not because I wasn't paying attention. So let's see here. Power Automate. There we go. And let's go ahead and look at this flow live inside of Power Automate. And once you do this, this thing runs pretty much flawlessly. It will take your attachments. Anytime you get an attachment in an email, it'll automatically dump it in here. And it works really, really well. So let's go ahead and go to My Flows. And we're going to go here to Attachment to OneDrive. All right, and let's go ahead and see what it looks like. So when that opens up, shouldn't take long. And then we'll take a look. So when the email arrives, V3, as we explained, inbox. Now remember, we want to click here, only attachments. Okay? I'll pause there if you want to take a screenshot. Good? All right. Now we're going to do an apply to each. Now remember, the apply to each doesn't happen immediately. It will happen when you hit create file, I think by name. No. I think it happens right here when you do the message ID, get attachment. But in either case, that's why we went over the written instructions first, because this will follow you through, and the apply to each will just appear. Okay? Okay, right here. Because there could be multiple attachments in an email, Power Automate create a loop, or refer to as an apply to each. So it's right after we put in attachment. Okay? So it's going to add this apply to each for us. Okay? Let's go back to Flow. Where are you, Flow? All right. So here are the two things that we put in as we documented, and then we create the file. It's really, really as simple as the instructions say, and we hit save and let her rip. That's really how we get, and that's kind of the conclusion here. We talked today really about attachments to a gallery. How do we annotate those attachments in the gallery? And we talked about it right here in how we annotate that. Remember, with the if statement. Then we created this action folder. We set a rule to go to the action folder for all emails with attachments. Okay, and of course we created the folder in OneDrive as well. And then we created a flow to move all those attachments automatically. So why would you do this and not just attach directly to the task itself with the attachment? You can do that, and I have done that in the past. It's very easy to do. The problem is, and the reality is, what I have found is I always go to the same place for the information. I always go there looking for the data. And if I have one place to go with all my attachments, even if I get an attachment that doesn't hit one of my rules, I can just manually load that attachment as well if I want to. Now, so then it becomes very easy. It also allows me to really manage my email more effectively. I can move those emails out. I can say, well, I don't want that, or I do want that. I can save that as a task, and immediately it starts to show up as a task within my environment. So if we go back to that email, notice now that is no longer unread. So there's lots of cool things that you can do here. Again, if you want to learn how to do that email, capturing email, go out to this video right here. Just search Google for 8423.1158 and you should be able to find it.